Welcome back. This is Friday, so this is Daybreak, and we want to talk about sexual harassment here on Social Square. I have a fantastic panel that will lead this conversation. We're asking you this morning, have you experienced any form of sexual harassment? Have you experienced any form of sexual harassment? Please do share with us your stories. You never know who's listening, and you could be inspiring. So text us on 22422. Those are the numbers that you can call in, because even if though you're at home, we'd love for you to be part of the conversation here in studio. The hashtag Daybreak is what you can use on Twitter. Twitter's at Citizen TV Kenya, at Wahiga Maurat, Trevor Mbija, at Zinzi_K. All right, so like I've said, sexual harassment is the topic of today here on Social Square. A very important one that we should be having as a nation. So allow me to introduce my panel. Sit closer to me, I have Millicent Obange. She's not only a law student, but she's very passionate when it comes to women's rights. Sit closer to her, it's MC Jesse. He needs no introduction, but for the sake of that, he is an award-winning TV presenter as well as a comedian. He said he's also a businessman, but we will not go beyond that right there. We'll just leave it there. Thank you so much for being here, both of you. And on my other side, I have the gorgeous Avril. Avril is not only a contemporary musician, she's also a businesswoman and an actress. It's good to have you with us here.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for all of you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
All right, perhaps one thing I'd love for us to start off, to kick-start this conversation, is what we've seen already happening this week. It's been on social media, and it's also been on our local dailies. 1,077 teachers have been expelled, have been fired for having love affairs. But a lot of people are saying, let's call it what it is. It is sexual harassment with having love affairs with students. I'll begin with you, Millicent. Just your overall, general feedback on that specific story.
Well, it's extremely disheartening to begin with, because they are abusing a position of authority first, and a position of trust, because a teacher is not only an authority figure, but that is a person that parents are trusting with the education of their children.
Right.
So for them to harass their children is a terrible, terrible thing to do, and I am looking forward to them not only being dismissed, but even charges being brought against them. Because if these students are underage, that is defilement, and even if they are overage, the law through the Sexual Offences Act takes care of such scenarios.
Right. So you'd want to see legal action being taken, not just them being fired.
Dismissal, yeah.
All right, MC Jesse, your thoughts on this?
Well, the lawyer has spoken that they should be charged. But for me, I think, you know, I'm a parent. But by the grace of God, is a parent of boys. But you never know, I'm still very busy. I'm gonna get girls. But you can imagine how it feels for these parents seeing their children, you know. I mean, I'm imagining of the parents that have girls that are raising daughters.
Yes.
What it feels to imagine your daughter with this old man, Mzee maybe, the history teacher. And you know, history teacher, most of them are not just very young. You need to experience history with yourself, so that people get to know that you know history. And now this is the person you're entrusting your child with. In the morning, you're dropping your child to school, or maybe they're in the boarding school, and you believe that with their teachers, they are okay. The way you see your teachers, the way you see teachers at the kindergarten taking care of children, now you can imagine this teacher that you entrust your child with is now the devil in their life.
Jesse, I'm so glad you said you're a father, but you're a father of boys. Aren't you also not worried for them at some point? And we'll get into that even deeper. The fact that also boys are sexually abused by their mothers, their sisters, their aunties.
Even in church.
Even in church, there you go.
Yeah, the priest, you've seen them in the news. The priest abusing boys. So, well, let me say stereotypically that Meru, sijui naweza fanya nini na wao. Yes, but it's so sad that it's happening in our society today, and especially Kenya, to see even boys being abused by their teachers. And as we are saying, these are their second parents. And now, those same people that we entrust our children with have become the devils in their lives, the monsters. The children don't want to go to school. I have a cousin of mine who we are now looking for another school for him, because whatever happened with him and the teacher, it's a boy, and there's a teacher who is making him uncomfortable. He's in Form 1.
And he's in Form 1, so you've had to move him?
No, now he's in Form 2, yeah. This is the second year. Form 2, yes. And we have to move him.
Yeah.
But he's at home currently.
He's currently at home. So it's back to school shopping, trying to figure out which schools to now take him.
Yes.
We'll come back to that. Avril, let me get your general thoughts on that issue. 1,077 teachers fired for love affairs, but Kenyans are saying, let's call it what it is. It's sexual harassment towards the students.
I love the fact that my former chancellor, Professor Magoha, actually highlighted it and said, you know what, if you are tasked with that responsibility and you are caught, but as in it's, because unfortunately it's been happening. It's right now that we're actually highlighting it, yeah? We've gotten to a point in our lives where we're not talking, and I keep on going back to, why are we not talking as parents to our children? Why are we not fostering relationships where a child can be comfortable enough to come and tell you, but their dad, this and this and this is happening, mom, this and this and this is happening. Tunapuuza vitu nyingi sana. I'm sorry if it's going to Swahili, but yeah, the greater majority speak Swahili, right?
Be comfortable.
Yes, we tend to not take a lot of things seriously. I'm also a mom, I'm a new mom, and prior to being a mom, I remember starting a conversation on social media where I was speaking as a big sister, because I go to the schools. I go to high schools to perform, and I see the kind of behavior that is amongst us. I see a young boy coming to spank me because he feels like it is okay for me to, because she sings in a certain way and she's dressed in a certain way, she comes on stage, I have all the permission to do what I need to do. So, as much as we're blaming the teachers, let's blame the general public, because this is a conversation we need to have as an entire society. Yes, fine, fair and fine, we have 1,077. What about the brothers who are watching some kind of films? Because unfortunately, by there right now, it's inevitable to watch a movie and it not being inappropriate in some way. That is where we are right now. Let's start a conversation. What are our children watching? Yeah, we keep on bashing the KFCB boss, but he is actually, he makes some sense at some point, because I am in a car 11 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, and the conversations on radio, I don't want to start having that conversation with my 7-year-old daughter, 8-year-old son about some things as early as that. But society has driven us to that.
And I'm so glad, not only do we have our law student, but we have you and MC Jesse, who, you know, you are dominating in the entertainment industry. How do you think the entertainment industry / media industry in general has poured into the sexual conversation that we should be having as a community, as a society? Has it made it worse? Could we be using the same mode of entertainment, TV, radio, to also instill sexual education the right way?
I think we do. Personally, even MC Jesse, I'm very sure in context, in some of his conversations, or rather in his stand-up comedy, he actually instills some sort of education. In my songs, such as Yulede, Ninaweza, I try as much as possible. Unfortunately, again, we are a society, not even a society, we are a human race that is driven to controversy more as compared to educational material. But here comes a generation of artists who are actually using the same kind of medium to try and instill some kind of, you know, some self-respect. I try as much as possible, as much as I'm singing about music, about love, my music tends to also touch on, just to spark a conversation. Yeah, Chokoza, as much as people keep on, you know, referring it to a certain kind of way, or rather certain kind of conversation, it was about, I'm in the club. Do I really need you in my space? I don't need you in my space. I came here to have fun with my girls. If at any one point in time I do want to hang out with a guy, I will. But I don't want to. So nimekuja kuchokoza.
Right. Listen, for our audience at home, it's really important that you be part of this conversation. So we're inviting you to do so. Call in, text, and if you decide to call in and you don't want to share your real name, your true identity, but also want to be part of this conversation, that we'll be able to do that. So call us on 0719 777 tweet us at Citizen TV Kenya, text us on 22422. Those numbers on your screens, ladies and gentlemen, are the numbers that you can call in and be part of this conversation. Again, if you want to remain anonymous, that can be possible. So you can share your sexual harassment experience, if any, and just even your general thoughts really around this conversation. Let me come back to you, Millicent. There's something very important that Avril has said, that perhaps we as parents and soon to be parents need to start having that conversation with our children early when it comes to talking to them about sex and sexual education, right? That it should come first from our own family. Do you think that is the case, especially with our generation, that our generation are approaching sexual education different from our parents? Our parents, they never talked to us about sex. That was left to TV and to teachers, biology. Can our generation be different?
I think so. I think there is a greater openness about sex and sex education among our generation. If I can speak for the people I go to school with, we are trying to open up the channel so that people speak out more, because the thing that causes sexual harassment or any other vice to thrive is silence, because we shame victims into, I cannot speak about it, there's a respectability around this person, or I have to take care of my reputation or this other person's reputation. But if we open it up, and if we have children and we speak to them about sex and educate them early, then we can change the narrative,
right,
so that it's no longer a taboo subject,
right.
Because if I'm going through something and I cannot tell my mother, then there's no way she can help me, which is why now parents are outraged, yet their children were going through this, but there was no way for their children to come to them to speak about it. Children cannot speak to teachers, they cannot speak to parents, so then who do they go to?
I'm suggesting, as a parent, how important is it for parents to be the very first point of contact that children get to know sex education from? And I ask this because even as we're seated here as young people, at the end of the day we are Africans, and our African culture sort of limits us when it comes to talking about sex. It's seen as taboo.
It is our responsibility. The Meru checks in. Responsibility. Sijaamka bado Kimeru iko ndani. So, but it is our responsibility as parents to raise our children the way we want. Even the Bible says,
child in the way that he should go. Train up a child in a way that he should go. And when they are grown, they shall not depart from it.
Right.
So it is upon us as parents to talk to our children about anything, about sex, about how to relate with other people. If you are raising daughters, it is your responsibility as a parent to talk to them and tell them, you know what, if a man touches you like this, please raise an alarm. Because you have girls who are abused and they just keep quiet with it, because maybe they don't know who to report to, they don't know where to go to, because nobody talks to them about sex. And if it's boys, you have to talk to them, because even the boys can become harassers. They can become the ones harassing the girls.
Do you think if you had daughters, you'd be more concerned and worried about them as opposed to now that you're a father of boys?
I guess I would. Yes, I would. You know, raising boys, it doesn't mean there is lesser parenting to boys than raising girls. No. But I tend to think, it's my opinion, that girls are more sensitive. You know, for a boy, we are raised being a little bit rough. I come from Meru, and how I was raised is nobody talked to me about sex. Like my mother did not talk to me about sex, neither did my father. But our society has provided avenues to which we are talked about sex, and that is, we live in age sets and age groups. We are initiated into adulthood, I'm talking about circumcision in Meru, by an age group that is ahead of us. For me, the guys who are older than me are the ones who initiated us.
Right.
So they teach us about sex, about respecting women, because in Meru society, we are really taught about respecting women. Did you know that as a Meru man, if you meet a woman walking, if you meet your mother, I mean, if you're walking at the same road with your mother, she's oncoming, you are not supposed to, you know, like be on the same road with her. If she's coming, you just find another route. Mama anakuja hivi, tafuta njia ingine ya kwenda. And we were taught that when we are being initiated into adulthood. We are taught about being an adult. You are taught about being a real man and who respects women. In our society, I wasn't taught about beating women. It is a taboo. You can even be excommunicated from the community by beating your woman.
But do you think,
or even your sister? Right.
And as much as, according to statistics, about 120 million girls worldwide are forced into sexual acts of any kind, be it through early child marriage, rape, etc. But at the end of the day, the fact that society has perceived sexual harassment to be sensitive towards girls, we're forgetting that they are boys, that they are men who have grown up when they were younger being sexually harassed by their aunties, their cousins, their sisters, their mothers. And that's another side of the conversation that we also need to be having, that there are boys outside there who have become sexually harassed.
As a man, I think how I can say is this. I've experienced that on the way growing up. But some of them were, you know, you found them like childish and things like that. But the responsibility lies with the home where you are. Like your brothers and sisters, do you talk about sex? Are you taught about it? Don't ignore, and especially the children that grow up with a single parent.
Right.
Especially single mothers. You know, the mothers, sometimes they feel, you know, I don't know how to raise my boy, you know, as a mother. And sometimes, as a woman, you tend to instill the feminine kind of fear into this boy instead of the boy growing up being a man. That's why if you're a parent, you're a single mother, I would advise, get for your son a father figure.
Right.
Even if it's your brother.
Right.
Or your uncle, they can be the father figure in this boy's life. And that roughness of a boy being taught like, as a man, you should not allow this and this to happen. It helps.
Yes.
I was taught that nobody should touch me. By who? My uncles and the society. Because as I've told you, in our initiations, we are taught by the society. Other men teach us in Meru how to be men. All
right, and speaking about other men, if you're also a man and you also want to be part of this conversation here and share your story, you can do so, and we will not even reveal your real identity. You can call us, you can text us, or you can even tweet us directly. We want you to be part of this conversation. Another part is the fact that, Avril, when we say no means no, has our society understood that no means no?
I don't think we have. To some extent, we have some extent. Unfortunately, sexual pests and sexual predators are amongst us. Yeah, there are men. Let's not demonize all men. There are actually men who have been raised right. There are men who actually understand that how to be in a relationship and to take care of a woman, right? But there are other men who honestly do not understand, and there are actually, unfortunately, even other women who don't understand. I saw a question earlier about where does flirting stop and sexual harassment begin?
Right.
Do we honestly have to ask that question? Have we gotten into a society where we have to ask a question where I've stopped flirting, now I'm sexually harassing this chick? I've stopped flirting with this guy, I'm actually harassing him? It needs to get to a point where we need to understand that we are making people uncomfortable. That's it. If you feel that you're making someone, and unfortunately, again, we are in a society where some people don't even notice that they're making someone uncomfortable. Let's just spark a conversation. Let's just spark a conversation. I feel like the more we talk about this, the more we will be able to understand that this no actually means a certain no. Because me, by the way, there's sometimes no kachu and I don't even know that this guy is actually hitting on me. Then it gets to a point I'm like, oh, this guy is actually, you know, getting to a point where he's actually hitting on me. Let's just have candid conversations. Let's watch more rom-coms, I guess, so we can be able to understand what exactly. And that's another thing.
Right.
Let's also have film producers and film directors doing more movies that are inclined to positive stories. Not always deaths, this person has killed this person. I think that's also something that is instilling a sense of this is how things are supposed to work out in life as compared to, because I watch a lot of European romantic comedies and there's a happily ever after, there's a happy story, it's a beautiful story. Let's have more of that on TV.
Right, look, we're going to come to that as well. We have Sarah. Sarah, you're calling in from Kitengela. You're our first caller this morning. Sarah, good morning. Thank you for calling in and being part of this conversation. How are you this morning?
I am fine.
All right. I would love to hear your thoughts, your questions, your comments on the topic that we're having this morning, sexual harassment. I'm with Avril here, and we were just discussing about, does no really mean no within our Kenyan society?
Okay, now, my concern is about what some teachers are doing with children in school.
Yes.
And I just want to comment on this.
Yes.
Because I also went through some of that, but my case was different because we were empowered by our parents. Back then, we were the first lot of 8 for 4. And back then, I can remember my father used to tell us that a teacher is only a teacher when they teach you what is in the curriculum. But if a teacher tells you this and this and this, no, that person stops being a teacher, you treat that person like anybody in the street and come and tell me. So that kind of empowerment was so good, because no teacher could really tell me something that was not right. I could go straight to mom and dad and tell them. So it helped me so much. It empowered me. So nobody could threaten me. So I think what parents need to do is to open up to their children, establish trust, so that the child can tell them anything without fear. Yes,
Sarah,
I think that would really help us.
Do you mind me asking, are you also a parent yourself?
Yes, I'm a parent right now. I have a daughter, and I've done the same with her. She's in Form 3 right now.
You've already begun having the conversation of sex with your daughter, what sexual harassment looks like, and etc.
Yes.
All right, fantastic.
Okay, and then another thing which they also used to tell us that if somebody, even if it is somebody who normally comes to the house here and you see us with that person and they do this and this to you, this is not right. Come and tell us, let us know. So I think this is the conversation that parents need to have with their children so that they can earn their trust. Because trust is respect, and trust is not automatic. It is earned.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. Sarah has brought up an important issue there, that also parents need to work on getting trust to their children. That I can come talk to mom and dad about this boy who is hitting on me, this person did this, without having fear of being beaten, you know? And so just pick up on that real quickly before we take a commercial break.
As I was saying before, as a parent, you are the first person who is responsible for teaching your children about sex. If you don't teach them, if you have not already started the conversation, there is no way your child will ever come and open up to you.
So as parents, how do we win the trust of our children so they can come and comfortably tell us that uncle so-and-so touched me like this, auntie so-and-so made this comment about me?
This child did not appear. You gave birth to them. They've been growing in your hands. So you need to understand at the time when you need to talk to them about sex. Initiate, be friends with your child.
Be friends with
Start when they are very young. Be friends. Don't be a parent who gives your children presents. Be present there to talk to them. When they trust you, children build trust from when they are young. When they build that trust, they become so close to you, and they'll be able to disclose all that to you. I've heard of children, daughters who are closer to their fathers than their mothers. And we've had sons who are closer to let's say, either of the parents than the other one. Why? Because of the relationship that was created when they were still very young.
And it's not only about talking, it's also about listening. You know, a lot of things you will be able to pick from the way your child talks to you. They'll actually say something in passing and you'll be like, hold up, this child said something. And then actually that conversation can even start from there. Because again, even the friends that they keep around, invite your children's friends home once in a while so that you can know the kind of people, or rather the kind of children that your child is hanging around. That's how you can be able to identify some few things here and there.
Millicent, you're a university student, and do your friends feel comfortable about talking to their parents about sex in general?
Generally, no. However, I may not be a parent, but I am an aunt to a boy. So I have been helping to raise, I call him my son. And I think the thing we are trying to do, my sister, all of us, is to ensure that he is comfortable with telling us anything. He's now 6 years old. And we started that very, very early. That if the house help does anything while we are away, he will tell us in the evening. And that's because trust is not instantaneously, and your child will not be 20 and suddenly realize I can talk to my parent if they could not do it when they were 2. So it starts very early. As you raise your child, you teach them that they can tell you something and you will listen. And it starts with the minor things, because a child will tell you something minor and you don't listen, and they will know that I cannot tell mom the major things. So even before the point of talking to my child about sex or sexual relations with other people, it starts with, does he have any problem? Does he or she know that he or she can come to me with that problem?